Hey guys, Phil here. Before we begin, we have a special ask. Kenny, Aaron, and myself, we've been building a lot of content. We'd like to be able to share more stuff with you. And to do this, we'd really love it if you would do us a favor and go to the website, www.thiscommercelife.com, and sign up with your email. We'd like to be able to send you some extra content that we're building. And then we've heard from you that you'd like some insights on things that we've been sharing on things like SEO and social media and marketing strategies and all those sorts of things. So if you wouldn't mind going to the website and signing up, we'll be able to send you more stuff. Thanks.
Welcome to This Commerce Life. We are an unscripted podcast dedicated to small businesses and entrepreneurs in the retail and consumer packaged goods space in Canada and the United States.
I am Phil Chang, co-host and co-founder.
And I'm Kenny Vanucci, co-host and co-founder of This Commerce Life.
Our love is the journey to retail, and our passion is sharing that with you every week.
Honestly, the month has gone by so fast.
Yeah, we were just saying the same. We were just talking about that.
Yes.
We were just talking about that.
Oh, gosh, it's just flown by. Like, I don't know. We don't know where it went, and then we don't know.
It's just gone.
It's just gone.
It's gone.
It's kind of crazy.
It's gone.
Man. How are the two of you?
Busy. Yeah. Doing pretty well. Thank you. Yeah. Just got back from doing the Planted Expo in Toronto.
Oh, good. How'd it go?
Yeah.
It was really, really good. It was actually our first foray into Ontario. So many people were trying our cheese spreads and our ravioli for the first time. And we got really, really, really positive reactions. So we're excited.
Was this a consumer show or was this a retailer show?
Consumer.
Or industry show? Consumer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So did you grab, were any retailers there walking around, or did you grab anybody, or?
Yes. So we definitely have some connections. Right now, we're in the process of trying to speaking with some distributors
Perfect.
to get our product out east. So yeah, we have some retailers that are most likely lined up once that's all set in stone. So we're really hoping to be available in Ontario within a couple months, like on shelf.
Wow.
I love it. It's my neighborhood, so I love it.
Really nice.
I love it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, you can give us more details on that once this podcast gets moving, because I think that's interesting. I'm dying to see how that's going to work out.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
I'll do a quick intro.
Yep,
sorry, go ahead, Kyle.
Say, Kyle, by the way, I know that you're maybe planning to meet just Emily, so just
No,
we're totally good. You can bring a whole crew if you want.
Sorry, you have to go now. Because,
yeah, you can leave now.
Yeah, you have to go now because we.
She's the face of the franchise, so.
No, we love it. We love it. So for listeners, we have Emily and Kyle on. And Kyle, we did expect you, but if we got only Emily, totally cool. But we did expect you. We figured you'd be here. They are Living Tree Foods. So they were in the launch pad. You first met them. You might have met them from their cheeses, but the CHFA stuff. They were at Launchpad with this delicious plant-based ravioli, which was fantastic. If you got a chance to try it. It sounds like when we get there that we're going to be able to talk about Ontario, maybe, which I love. Literally, it's my backyard. So I'm based in Mississauga near the airport. So yeah. So I'm excited. And so we are so glad you're here because we want to be able to talk about how you guys got here. You have such an interesting story. So I'm going to shut up now, and then next 45 minutes or so is yours. And we'd love to hear kind of the whole story of how you got to where you were, and then we'll talk about all the rest of it as well. So
amazing, thank you. Well, yeah. Do you want to start?
Yeah,
we'll start with a guy that thought he wasn't welcome.
The guy's not supposed to be here. Let's get him out of the way.
I'm just like, I usually should be seen and not heard. That's just kind of my MO. So
no, but you're beside the two of us, so you're in great shape. So
yeah. So I guess we just happened to meet at law school. We had a course together, law and economics. Emily has a master's in economics. And I obviously thought she was very pretty and super, super smart. So, I started my courtship while we had class, and slowly I convinced her to go out with me. And then she started feeding me all this vegan food. I was never really, I had some before years ago. None of it was really that good, in my opinion. But it was amazing. Some of the stuff she made for me really changed my idea of what vegan food could be. Then I ended up losing like 15, 20 pounds, had a ton of energy. I've always, had very, very big concerns about animal welfare and that sort of stuff. I just never really had the push I needed in order to, make those changes in my life. And then I was like, okay, if I think that plant-based food was bad and it can be this good, I can only imagine how many other people would have the same misconception that I had. So that's kind of in a nutshell, just, the seed that kind of grew eventually into what is Living Tree Foods today.
Yeah. So we started selling at farmers markets kind of just for fun. It was during the pandemic that we started. We were in lockdown, and so obviously had a lot of time on our hands to experiment with recipes and whatnot. So we just did local farmers markets around Vancouver and started mostly with the cheese spread. And we also have a product called Slammin' Lox. It's like a vegan salmon lox. So those were kind of our two main products, and they were just so well received. We just kind of kept going with it and building and getting into some stores, and just decided to kind of abandon the whole legal career for the time being. Might go back to it eventually. So as soon as I graduated, Kyle was a year ahead of me, so he had actually already been working as a lawyer for a little bit. So as soon as I graduated, I went full-time. He went full-time after working for a little bit, and just have kind of been full steam ahead with the business ever since.
So you guys were both full tilt into the business for how long now? 2-3 years almost? 2 years?
Yes. So started in May of 2020. So it's actually
3 years.
Yeah.
3 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've been full-time since about July or August of 2021. I was kind of doing this full-time while I was an articling student at a national firm, and then I was practicing in securities and corporate law, and that just wasn't sustainable, and, to do both at once.
You ran out of hours?
Yeah, not enough hours, and my heart just really wasn't in it long-term. I just,
well, maybe later in life, who knows, right? But that's cool.
Well, you're about to jump into lots of agreements with distributors, brokers, and retailers,
all of which will read terribly and non-changeable.
The law.
No negotiations. They read horribly, but they can negotiate.
But we talked about this a little bit during the Fast Thought, but it's amazing to me, right? Like you were cooking, for fun or for your own lifestyle, right? And then both of you have just like a very rich background in education, right? Like you've got law in your background, you've got a master in economics.
Seriously, right?
And then you just went and built yourself a retail line. So I think that's incredibly remarkable.
Oh, thank you.
I really I want to ask you about going from a farmer's market and like what that switch felt like to go from farmer's market.
I only want to take you one step before. Tell me how you got to the cheese that you decided to go to the farmer's market with, or the Slammin' Lox, I think you called it, right? Like, what are those, like, were you making this before, like, or just you wanted to do something?
Yeah.
Well,
no.
Yeah, to both.
So we were just experimenting. Like she said, we were on lockdown. Like I was doing my PLTC, which is essentially like your bar exam, and we just had a ton of time. We're spending indoors and just making lots of food. We started out making cheeses with Rejuvelac, which is essentially like a fermented grain that you sprout, and it doesn't smell very good, but you can use that to make cheeses and ferment it. And then we started experimenting with using probiotics. And then we started experimenting with the many blends and different types of probiotics. And we found out we were just getting like different cheeses through each one of these steps. And we just really just kept trying new stuff until we got things that were just really, really good. And we're just like, okay, well, now what? We might as well, maybe we should try selling this because it's awesome. And I don't know, I love machinery and, you know, all these different like types of, you know, jar fillers and production equipment and cutters, mixers and all that stuff. So I don't know, it just became an obsession kind of, and just kept snowballing really.
But Emily, because you're with a vegan, so had you been making homemade cheeses prior to this, or just started as cheese is the first thing we're going to try to do?
Kyle,
I'm not giving it to you because I don't think you were I don't think you were making cheese before.
Yeah, no, we weren't really, to be honest. I had been making a lot of vegan meals and food and trying different recipes for a few years. It's not like I've been a lifelong cook or like love of the kitchen or anything. It really only started a number of years ago. But so Miyoko Shinner, she is kind of a pioneer in the vegan cheese world. She started a U.S. California-based company called Miyoko's Creamery. And I just loved her product. So she had a cookbook on homemade vegan cheese making. And I'd had that book for a few years. And this was kind of an opportunity to start trying to actually make those recipes, because they're a bit daunting at first. They're not like a regular cookbook where it just takes an hour or something to make a recipe. It's a days long process, and foreign concepts like the Rejuvelac. So it had been a bit daunting to me. So yeah, me making those cheeses kind of just started during lockdown, and it kind of just coincided with the idea to start a vegan food business, and they were just really good. So we were like, why not start with these? So it was a bit, you know, it could have been a different product line, to be honest. We have a lot more products that we do want to do. It's not like we had a singular passion for vegan cheese spreads.
But you were looking for something that was, I guess, more could enjoy. And I'm not that it's easy to make, but relatively simple, time consuming. It sounds like is probably the larger part.
Yeah.
And what's the base of these? Like, are these? Because excuse the ignorance. Like, are these cashew based, or are these a nut? Like, is that what cashew?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. Wow. So far, we found that to be the best base. Okay. We've experimented with some others because we do want a nut-free option, but it's kind of become our our brand to be, you know, flavor first and really, really good tasting. So we don't want to sacrifice on that. So we're really picky about.
That's fine. That you should do that, I think. So, I mean, that makes sort of sense.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a big deal, right? Like, because I do think, like, I'm a meatitarian, right? But working hard to kind of replace
some of it, at least.
Yeah, like one or two meals. My youngest daughter started us on this. She was maybe 12 at the time, and she was very into, look, like, this is just way too like animal cruelty, and she didn't like it. And she said to me, I want to go vegetarian all the time. And I said to her, no, can't do that. I'm not skilled in anything. Like, there's not enough nutritional balance in my cookbook. Like, Kenny and I both love to cook, right? But I realized, like, everything I have has a protein base in it that is a meat of some sort, right? And I said to her, I only know how to cook tofu a handful of ways, and I'm not skilled in beans. So I need time. So we started, you know, kind of, and it's held, right? So kind of like 2 days out of every week, we're going vegan or vegetarian, right? So, you know, but it's a big deal, because even when we started, like, she's now 15 turning 16, but when we started, everything that I bought was meh to blech, right? Like,
yeah.
You know, so you start making your own things, because you realize, like, I can't buy that, and nobody's going to eat it, right? Like, I'm making it for her, and I'll eat it because I want to keep supporting her, and then everyone else in the family's like, nah, like, can I? Well,
if it tastes terrible, else, you're spending a ton of money on it, right? Because typically a premium too, and I don't mind paying premium for product. I hate paying premium for shitty product.
Yeah.
I don't care what you're saving at that point. I mean, you know, I don't mind spending the money, but it's got to taste good.
We love it. We had Dean from Tomorrow Foods on. So we had him during he was our live guest at CHFA, and he was talking about the same thing you guys were, which is like, we've got to level up. If the taste is there, what's the big deal, right? Like if it tastes as good as it's supposed to taste, then what's the big deal? Who's not going to switch, right? And I think that's, I think you're on the right approach.
I think so the whole point of that was, don't sacrifice the flavor and the taste.
Yeah.
They just don't.
Yeah,
it's the worst. But you cut a corner, cut it in packaging, find a spot, but don't screw with the food. The food is the only part that matters, really. At the end of the day, that's
so. Kenny, would you eat their ravioli?
I had the ravioli.
And would you eat it?
I ate it.
No, I mean in your household.
Okay, I'll tell you what. To be honest,
he's Italian, right? So this is like
no. There's a couple of things. Two things. For me, I think it's very good. For us, because we do eat a lot of pasta, it would come down more times than not. It's economics rather than anything else, right? I mean, Italian food. It's surprising. Like, there's so much Italian food that's got nothing to do with four-legged animals, right? Or even fish. There's a lot of stuff that is vegetable based. So it's not necessarily brutally hard to find. Like, you can do pasta all day with a billion recipes that have nothing to do with meat and nothing to do with an egg noodle, like just a normal, Durham semolina thing. So to me, I liked them. To me, the challenge you'd have with someone like me is I can do it, but I would do it less frequently than I would traditional, and only because cost. To be honest, that would be it. Flavor was not the issue. Texture was not the issue. Presentation was not the issue.
That was great. Yeah.
So to me, like, you hit it everywhere. It's the same thing that organics had a problem with at the beginning, and anything natural is the deltas. At 15 or 20% delta is when the consumers will start to do it. At 30 and 40%, it's a tough grind. You have to work at just that. And that's why I'm glad Phil said, don't fuck with the flavor. You can't screw that. You've got to keep playing it. You just got to figure out how to get your cogs down to a point where you're still making good money, but you got to be able to pull the retail down a bit. That's the only thing for me. Thanks, Phil.
No,
but I did like the product. I actually really did like the product.
Think,
more surprisingly than I thought. Like, I seriously, because when I go to vegan and stuff like that,
Italian,
the bar is going to be like, it's cheese, man. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Parmigiano and Romano, and that's cheese. But if you tell me that you've got a cheese, I don't care what it's made from, as long as it tastes like a cheese, right? And I found the product really good, and the consistency really, really nice. It was just a little bit, for me, more probably the economics, which I think is probably a stumbling block for a lot of people as soon as you get into packaged goods.
But I just think so. I what I was after was that answer, because he's Italian, right? Like, it doesn't, I'm Chinese, so if I say I like it, that's great, right? But what do I know about ravioli, right? Like,
well, I just know what I've had when I was growing up.
I love ravioli, right? But if you got an Italian saying,
well, my mom and my nonna used to make it on the table, right? And we'd all be waiting for dinner because they're making fresh ravioli and capelletti and things like that. It was like heaven. Right. So it's a tougher one to get me to go to, but I did like it. I do like the idea of it. But let me back up now, since Phil got me on that one. So you got the cheese and stuff. So there is still a leap to say, I'm glad you and Kyle like this. This is really enjoyable. We're like doing this, to saying, you know what, the whole world should do this for me, or try this on me, and then go to. I mean, what'd you do? You put it in baggies, you put it in cups, and just went to the market and said, "Here we go."
Kind of, to be honest. It's been a lot of just learning on the fly, not knowing what we're doing. We actually did start with our cheese spreads. They initially started as wheels. Yeah, wheels. And we did them in bags. Yeah, but that didn't really work out, and it took a lot longer to package, therefore upping the price and the cost. So they actually did start out like that, and we just kind of kept trying things until we landed on this iteration of packaging. And
And people obviously were, because you're still doing it, people were obviously pretty receptive, and especially at a farmer's market in our city. I mean, people are going to be pretty good with, again, as long as it tastes good. And actually, a lot of them can eat anything. But for the most part, normal people like me, as long as it tastes good, we're pretty much good to go.
Yeah, exactly. So at farmers markets and consumer shows, it's been well, actually, during the pandemic, it was a bit trickier because we weren't able to sample, and we had just started. No one was familiar with our brand, so we didn't have a reputation to go on. So it was, more of a struggle to sell out farmers markets during that time. We actually made tiny little sample jars that we would hand out to people walking through the market in hopes that they would try it at home, like it, remember back the next time. So it did work a bit, but it was obviously very expensive and more expensive.
Jars.
Tiny little jars. They were actually super cute.
Super expensive too.
Yeah.
Who cares about super cute for them, right? But like, holy crap!
Not
so many.
And having to create tiny little labels to stick them on each one, it was not fun. But we just, I guess, kind of did what we had to do for that. But as soon as we were allowed to sample, our sales just went straight up, because really the taste and flavor is the best selling feature. It's not something that's easy to convey, like some, I don't know, nut free, like if someone's looking for some allergen friendly product. So farmers markets and consumer shows have been really good for us since we're allowed to sample, and that's just the easiest way to convert people. But you were asking about the transition from farmers markets to retail, and that has also been a learning curve, because again, we didn't know what we were doing and didn't price it properly at first, allowing for a distributor margin and whatnot,
and a broker and co-op and listing fees, and fines and terms.
So listen, you don't have kids, and I don't know if you're ever going to have kids, but this is what having kids feels like too.
Nobody tells you all the other stuff.
It's wonderful, right? And then you're like, why? I had a paycheck. Where did it go? Right? And
I know. That's what I've heard. And I have two older sisters, and then my oldest sister is kind of like, she feels like she was kind of the trial run. Like, oh, I was like punished so much for these things, and you got away with everything. So So the costing was one thing that was an adjustment for retail. Also, our packaging, I think, is more geared towards farmers markets right now, for the cheese spreads at least. We did the ravioli packaging more with retail in mind.
You're totally retail ready with that. That's retail ready.
Thank you. Yeah, for the cheese spreads right now,
cheese spreads are not. I think they're really cute.
I've only tried the ravioli, and that's all I saw. Remember, I didn't get to watch CHFA. I don't even know who was at CHFA. Outside of seeing people, I had no time at anybody's booths.
Yeah,
I spent some time eating it.
You ate all day. I didn't eat. Starving to death.
Thank you.
Between you and Yogu, the yogurt, like,
yeah. So I think the jars for the cheese spreads, they are super cute, and they're individually really pretty. But just on shelf, they don't stand out as much as we would want to. And the glass makes things more expensive, and they don't stack very well. So
breakage.
Breakage, exactly. So we just kind of, again, weren't thinking with retail in mind, and that's definitely the route we want to go. We want to be wholesalers. We don't want to be doing farmers markets, for the rest of our lives. So
you're right.
You do by choice,
those
right?
Jars
not by necessity.
Those metal lid jars probably don't stack very well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we will be changing the cheese spread packaging soon enough, with the retail in mind and shipping in mind.
Price.
Well, all adds up, right? You're either gonna, glass is heavy too. People don't think of these things. Glass is heavy. You weigh it out before you cube out.
Yeah.
Nobody understands until they start putting things on a pallet, and the guy tells you, well, this is weighting out. And you're thinking, excuse me.
Yeah. Exactly. And so we were trying to, be environmentally responsible using glass jars. But if we want to be shipping this product and getting more people to be eating, plant-based cheese in Ontario, for example, it's actually not better for the environment if we're shipping a bunch of glass. So we needed to cut the weight. So we want to have an overall net positive, and I just don't think our current packaging is.
But that's okay. I mean, the way you're looking at it is smart too. At the end of the day, I think what people find out, and I'm sure you found that out, and a lot of it's, ideology is great, and you dig in and you want to do everything right, but sometimes the game's just not set up to do that yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you guys will change that. Like, your generation will change that and put pressure, on our generation who made a mess of a lot of this. It's going to come from you guys trying to fix up the stuff and trying to change things, and it'll get there. It just takes a little extra time. And what you will find out, plastic's horrendous, but it might be cheaper to make, less pollutants go into it, less fuel, blah, 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 easier to ship. So you get down to a net neutral. Well, I mean, and you still got people eating more plant-based, which is what really the first goal was anyway. I mean, you're kind of into bonus round, and then as it gets better, things will change, and we'll find better packaging and all that other fun stuff, and hopefully then it's okay.
Exactly, because if it's prohibitively expensive, then
it's not going to work.
No one will eat it, and we're having no impact anyways.
Exactly.
And the dairy cheeses that it would be replacing, they're in plastic anyway, so it cancels out. And so ultimately, we just want more people eating plant-based, and we think the best way to do that is to entice them with very delicious products where they don't need to be sacrificing on taste.
Right.
So that's just kind of, at first, I think many values-based companies try to be everything to everyone, and we've just kind of had to narrow our focus and our mission to that.
Yeah, or come back to what the real focus was. What did you really want to do? You wanted to get people to eat more plant-based for the reasons you had on that. The other stuff is obviously very important, but it wasn't what the intent was. It will come. So you're not going to give up. I know that.
Yeah.
And you'll push at it, but it'll take a little time. But at least you got the first part done.
Exactly.
And staying in business is key.
Yeah.
Well, I hate to tell you, it is.
What?
You are allowed to make money and survive.
Yeah.
It's not a sin.
No, but it's also new calculus, right? In a lot of ways. Like our generation, right? We made a mess of things because we went, what makes us money? Great. Let's do that. Right. Like that was the first impetus. So I feel like just having this simple mandate of, not simple, right? But like a clear mandate of
better mandate.
We want to make delicious food that people can buy into. It helps to make the calculus clearer, right? Like there is no organization out there that we could look at right now and go, oh, they figured it out, right? They figured out what the perfect balance is between having, kind of a pure plant-based, plant-based food and, pure carbon neutral packaging and, be good for the planet. Like nobody's got that math, right? So I think it's like a game of darts right now, right? Is the closest you get is the closest you get, right?
Or if they have the math, what happens is only 6 people get to participate in the game because it's costed so high that your ideal is really what you're trying to do is move the masses eventually into this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no different than ravioli.
Dartboard.
Exactly. But that's why I'm going to put, I'll push you guys on the ravioli is say, listen, I'll do it, but you got to just figure out the cogs. You've got to put it into a spot where it becomes less of a problem for me to make that jump because the delta is just a bit much at this point.
Well, for us, we know like since day one, we've been basically grow or die is basically our motto. And like you have to get your unit economics down. You do that by larger purchases, pushing more volume. And, if we want to get our stuff, lower and lower, we need to be able to get bigger equipment, bigger stuff. So it's, you can't do that right out the gate either. So, just continue.
So how do you manage that though? So if you want to, because we're going to go down, we're going to get this path anyway. How do you manage sort of the financing and the balancing of, I'd love to be like a $10 million company, have $1 million of equipment, but my sales are only 500, and that math definitively, without being any math major, does not work. So how do you go about funding? Is it like, are you borrowing from mom and dad, from brothers, sisters, or have you been able to go out and get financing or anything like that?
For the most part, we bootstrapped a lot to begin with and took out some loans. We've had like a little bit of friends and family money. But for the most part, it's just doing absolutely everything we can ourselves. So whether that's, staying on top of different restaurant auctions, looking at stuff on eBay, buying stuff overseas, cutting out as many middlemen as we can.
Right.
Like we started out by we import as much stuff as we can. We have our import license for our cashews.
Wow.
So basically we do every single thing that
Wow.
we can to cut costs in the most, like, you know, we think of ROI basically on every single thing that we do. And
good for you. Most don't.
One of Kyle's best skills is finding a hot deal. I don't know how he does it, but he can scour pages and pages of things and will just get like find thousands of dollars off deal on some piece of equipment. And
Wow.
So that's been actually a massive help because I would not be doing that on my own. That's for
and
sure.
And for you, Kyle, what's nice about that, that's one of, which implies that you have others.
Yes. It's true. Not just
See, that's even better because now you're not a one-trick pony. Not bad. Good for you.
But like at the end of the day, like making money is important, but not spending money is just as important. So, you know,
but most don't have that. Most feel that these worlds are like a tech startup and it's, you know, fake it till you make it and you just money just falls from the sky and it doesn't. It just, and sooner or later someone's going to want the money back.
Yeah, like when we started doing markets, like we did like 220 in like our first year or second year.
Wow.
So like the way we thought about that is it's, you know, an opportunity to get our product out, people to taste it, but it's also an opportunity to make money at the same time. So we've just tried to be as like, you know, I don't know, just think things through and just try to be as pragmatic as possible with the resources we have. And
that's abnormal, just so you know, because most don't do that. So really, no, good for you. Seriously, good on you, because a lot of them don't do that. A lot of startups just run on the premise that it just happens, and that, you know, as long as you're getting revenue, it really doesn't matter. And you've got enough sense in your head that there's two components: there's revenue and expense. More revenue, less expense is even the best. That's really what you're shooting for.
Yeah, and I think another thing that neither of us were really prepared for when we just kind of launched into the business is it's a massive lifestyle sacrifice as well in terms of time. And, you know, we put almost everything we have into the business. So, you know, it's not like we take a lot. We're very much thinking long term and down the road. So, I think that's kind of another way. I'm not sure. We've had some, you know, people that we've contemplated working with on the business, and just not everyone is willing to make that sacrifice in terms of lifestyle right now. And that's totally fair. And sometimes we question it because we see all our law school friends, you know, but
the choices you make though, right?
Exactly. So, yeah.
You know, if your greater good is to do this thing though, and to have more people doing this, there's no better people to do it than really the owners of it. Mm-hmm. It's yours. I mean, the vested interest is yours. Right. So I commend both of you.
We work crazy hours.
I bet.
You know, and it's no different than I'm sure any other founder that's, you know, it's a passion project. You love what you do. So it doesn't feel, you know, it's not like working 100 hours a week at your own business is much better than working, you know, 100 hours, even 60 hours a week for someone
even
else.
40. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Just straight hours can be painful. When it's your own, it's amazing that you can get lost in, to the point where it's sad too, because you guys are noticing. I mean, you're thinking, do we have any friends left? Do we have family left? Is anybody still around? Because you lose. You're thinking, I know the only person I see is you, and the only person you see is me. I guess there's a two-person world.
Yeah.
We always tell ourselves soon.
Yeah.
We'll have friends again soon.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that timeline just keeps getting pushed back. We'll get
there. It'll come. It'll come. I mean, you guys are doing, like I say, I mean, I'm more impressed the fact that, you know, I like the way you guys are doing things. I think it's clever. I like the bootstrapping as much as you possibly can. I think you're putting the time and effort into it. And I think it's, you know, long term, it typically works. I mean, there's always something that can happen, but you can't worry about that. I mean, I think for the most part, you're definitely doing it the right way, in my opinion, anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt that Emily's like a borderline genius. So all these things that I can't figure out, I'm just like, Emily.
You gave that to her already, Kyle. Don't worry about it.
Okay, but like this is an audio podcast, so nobody can see my face, right? But like, it just like. The skills just keep stacking up between the two of you, right? Like I think that's amazing to me. Like you know, like law school, Master of Economics, right? Like, you cooked enough to persuade a carnivore to switch over and be a vegan. Like you went to farmers markets, you started like putting cheese in jars, right? Like now you've got a ravioli, and then you just so happen to be perusing, deals to be able to find a couple of $1,000s off machinery, and you've got an import license. Like, do you know how many experienced? Let's narrow the pool a little. How many experienced entrepreneurs or founders have their own import licenses?
Yeah.
Right, Kenny? How many do you know?
Well,
like off the top of my head, I can think of 3 or 4.
Go down the path of how many founders talk ROI.
Nope.
Like, forget that. Forget that. Like that part is even a step. That's like way down the road. Like the fact that someone's talking about, oh my God, we have to watch the money out and the money in.
Yeah.
For most founders, that's baffling. Like the passion and the drive to do it is typically built into most entrepreneurs and founders, right? It's all the other shit you're talking about that's the real cool stuff and that's going to make you guys successful, is because you're thinking beyond just the idea. There is economics behind this. This has to work financially. There has to be thought out.
I'm going to give you something that Kenny and I shared with somebody that I'm going to leave all the names out of it and all that, but we had to explain the correlation between receivables and having cash to buy raw ingredients to a founder.
It was mind-bending.
It was a little mind-bending, right? Because they were like, hey, so I think we're going to need money soon. And we're like, well, I thought you've been selling stuff. We have.
Yeah.
So do you have money? No, we need more money. Okay. What do you have in AR? Well, it doesn't really matter what we have in AR. We need to, you're going, okay, wait. So let me explain. So I'm looking at Kenny and Kenny's like, I was like, all right.
I don't know to go from there. I don't know what to tell you.
Explain this to you. If you sold stuff and you have invoices outstanding, if they pay those invoices, you have money. So you don't need to ask for money. You have money. You just need to know when it's supposedly coming in.
Down to the other department,
and then you have to make sure. Yeah.
How much do we owe?
Yeah.
Well, we didn't get there, right? We didn't get there yet. So
we barely got past the first part.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so, part of the job is chasing people down to pay their month late.
But you know what it's like? You have to be on it. Otherwise, you're financing other people's businesses, which is sort of built into the game too. Again, it's, and this is where I'm sure you both learn, your COGS really plays even that much more of a role.
Yeah.
Where if your margins are a little fatter and if you have a little room, if you had to carry someone an extra week, it hurts cash flow. But you compensate once it comes in because at least you had a little extra to buy that time that you didn't want to give away, but it went away anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, another thing like that's also was a learning curve for us. Don't want to speak for you, but as a smaller business, we don't really have a lot of leverage. It's like, with our distributor, we get net 45. We go buy from places, they're like COD. And like that's a pretty big gap.
Credit card. And you got to, the percentages come out. You know what I mean? Like they charge you for that too.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
But again, you learn. And I think that's where, so let me ask you something it's because we're doing a talk on pricing in the next couple weeks in town. Like when you went to your farmer's market and you had your COGS and your retail, how much of a change did you have to make when you bumped into like saying, I want to go to a store? Because I'm assuming when you're at the booth, you're thinking, shit, I know my cost. This retail is the margins. Fact, this is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then you talk to a retailer and they say, yeah, that's fantastic. And then they take out, this much of this much. You're thinking, well, that really.
Whoa, what did you just do there? Why are you doing that?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a bit of a jump. Some of the retailers weren't too happy. But, we had kept our prices stable when other people had been increasing their prices for a long time. So it was kind of just, it was kind of just keeping pace with everybody else.
Right.
I guess, we had to up it by like 75 cents to retailers.
So did you have the margin built in though? Like, when you were selling at the farmer's market and you were anticipating going into retail, had you already built sort of that into your COGS, or you hadn't even thought of that?
We hadn't built in the distributor margin.
Not just the distributor, but you had built in a retailer's margin.
Yeah, so of course it's very, very naive. But,
no, it's very, very normal. Very normal. Very, very normal. Very normal.
Yeah, we're just, I guess we kind of bite off more than we can chew and kind of do things before we feel super prepared to do them. Yeah, we're like, we'll figure it out on,
They most do it that way. That's not abnormal.
Yeah, that's normal.
Yeah. So I mean, I do think that we wouldn't get anything done if we kind of went too far in the opposite direction and had to have everything perfectly in place. So there's definitely a balance to be struck there. And
right.
And I think like we've kind of relied on a lot of increased efficiencies as we've grown. So, like we've streamlined our processes, we've gotten better equipment, we've just become better at running our equipment and maintaining it. So
you're doing your own thing, or are you actually using a co-packer, or
we do everything. We import our ingredients for the most part. And then we package, manufacture, distribute directly.
You guys sleep?
People?
No.
Well, not really.
They don't have friends and they don't sleep.
Well, the friend part I knew they didn't have, but I thought they at least get some sleep. Jeez, that's amazing, you guys. Shit, that's an undertaking.
Really, that's amazing.
Yeah. And well, we want to be able to control as much as we can.
Good for you.
Quality, like as a smaller company, we're only going to be able to differentiate ourselves on quality. And if we, give it to a co-packer, we have to give up our recipe. We have to, give up quality control. And that's just like given our business model, that's not really feasible. We've never really thought twice about that. It's been kind of like non-negotiable for us this whole time.
Yeah. And also with the cheese spreads, it's a slightly complicated product with the, process. It's over a number of days, and with probiotics and whatnot, it's not like a sauce that you can bottle. So yeah, I don't even know how many co-packers would be willing to take it on. And I kind of looked into, before we started making the ravioli, I looked into a little bit, seeing if a co-packer could make them using our cheeses. And there's not that much out there that I could find. And
there's very little.
Yeah. And honestly, we've just heard horror stories of people moving to co-packers. Like, I think some businesses have shut down after they tried to make that move just because it was such a disaster. So definitely don't want to do that. So we actually moved to our own facility a year and a bit ago now. So yeah, getting all the equipment, that was, when very much Kyle's time to shine, especially. So setting up the facility was kind of a huge hurdle, but now we have it in place. So yeah, we're just kind of able to produce on our own, have more storage so that we can supply distributors, because we couldn't do that before from our, commissary kitchen.
You two are impressive.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, seriously.
Good for you. Seriously, you're thoughtful. You thought this. You did good. You thought this through.
Well, when you don't have money, you've got a lot of time to think.
Listen, but Kyle, we've seen it the other way. We've seen people who don't have money and still don't do the thinking. They'll borrow, or they'll just think it falls from the sky, and it just doesn't. It takes a lot of elbow grease, and it takes a lot of time, right? Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Good for you.
I want to ask you guys about. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. I was curious at, how that, if it's changed anything in your relationship with each other, right? Because you started as a couple, and then, like all couples, right? You kind of like attractive, like each other, spend some time, spend lots of time, spend every waking moment. And you guys took it to the nth degree, because you don't sleep, you don't have other friends, and all you do is make food together. So now you're together.
We don't know how many skills
right?
Kyle brought to the thing. Kyle might have started with 0 and has more than 1 now. I don't know I don't know what he brought to the table prior. So
yeah, Emily made a joke the other day, and so fitting for this. We're bonded through trauma.
Yeah.
Okay. I love that, actually.
That's good.
I really love that.
You know, we're battling every day together. And
well, it's you against the world.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah, no, it's kind of funny. We started the business just a few months into dating, which is obviously very ill-advised.
Not bright.
Yeah. But yeah, it's, worked out. We get along remarkably well given how much time we spend together and the stress that we're under. And our skills complement each other very well, which has kind of just been a bit of a fortunate
blessing
accident, I guess. Yeah, we're very opposite in some ways. And so we really just like the things that I really don't like doing, he's good at, and vice versa, in large part. So that's worked out well.
Wait, do you have things you're not good at? Okay.
Believe it or not.
Yeah,
She's
not really.
The best mechanic. Not great at lifting heavy things or driving the forklift.
Those are minors. Who cares? In the grand scheme of life, really, who cares?
Oh my gosh, you two.
That's awesome.
This is such a fantastic.
That was
story.
a treat. I really enjoyed that. That was
I don't know if you guys remember the Ninja Turtles at all. It's kind of more like my era.
I knew who they were.
The joke, Emily. I don't know. There's like this little brain called Krang that ran this like giant body thing. So she's Krang. I'm the body. So she does the thinking, and then I'm like, "Ooh,
you're the doer.
Let's go." And that's like us in a nutshell.
That's awesome. You need shirts for that. Good for you. Good for you. So if people want to find your products right now, so where are they going? Are you carried in most independent retailers? Are you in chains? Are you across the country? Where are you?
So right now we're mostly in BC. We're about 80-ish stores in BC, a little bit in Alberta. Hoping to start getting into Ontario within the next few months. Just got to get our distribution.
Yeah, just cautiously, right? Because there's cost and that's costly, as you're finding out.
Yeah, exactly. So grow within your means. That's sort of like what we're trying to do.
Scary.
We're on the edge of our means all the time, but within them at the end. So Whole Foods carries us. They're probably the biggest place. Siegel's Bagels and Rosemary Rock Salt. Those are two like iconic local places. They're like some of the first customers we've had since day one.
Yeah, they've been like the steadiest.
Super steady. Vegan Supply. They carry a lot of our stuff.
IGA, Fresh Street Market, Nature's Fair. Did you say Stong?
No.
Stongs.
But all the usual suspects that actually usually bounce on and give you guys a chance. Good for you.
Exactly.
Wow. It's good, but it's nice to hear. So you're actually in some food service, which is really nice. Because if I like the spread, I've asked in restaurants or places, what was that? Oh my God, it's so and so, spread or whatever it is. You're thinking, oh wow, yeah. Then you're looking for it. That's good. Good for you.
Yeah, that's another thing we thought about too. Is like we didn't really know about food service when we started this either. And being able to have like a finger in food service and retail is really important. Because like pandemic came, no one was going out, and then once it ended, no one was eating at home. So
exactly.
To have a bit of diversity is super important.
Now you get them both ways. They try you out, they go buy you
in restaurants. So
and once you're on a menu,
you'll learn it. Yeah, if you're golden, if you can get to a chef or whoever the person who manipulates the menu and work on them, like you could be in a good spot because typically they'll even name you or they'll name the spread or whatever the key ingredient is. And shit, you got to take that and run.
Like now you're shipping without fancy packaging.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, that's probably the best. That's the best part.
Damn right. It's easier, right?
Yeah.
It's cash too. Well, cash flow, not cash necessarily.
The ravioli was recently featured on some UBC lunch menus.
Good for you.
Thank you. Wow. Yeah, so I think it's going to be good for food service. And yeah, like Kyle said, the cheese spreads at Siegel's Bagels and Rosemary Rock Salt, I really think that's helped.
Total winners. 100%.
Yeah, just like sampling to a
100%.
People. Yeah.
I will. It'll bring people. It does. I mean, because we've been in food for a million years. It does. It's a grind. but it does work because people do ask a lot of times, what was that? Where did you get that? Or, what was that salmon spread? And they tell you, well, it wasn't salmon spread or whatever. And they walk you through it. You can do okay with that for sure. Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Too
So
smarty
exciting.
pants, eh?
You too.
Jeez.
Amazing. So I'm cheering for you as soon as it's in Ontario.
Oh,
Shoot me a note. I'll go get some.
You can try once. Just be cautious. Take your time. You guys are doing it smart.
Yeah, don't rush for me. Just
relax. Make sure the numbers all work out. Pallets that are cold. Pallets that are not cold are expensive. Pallets that are cold are more expensive.
Yes, that is very true.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Cool.
Thank you so much for joining us.
You guys are a pleasure to have on. Thank
amazing.
you.
Yeah.
Nice to chat with you guys. And,
Thank you so much for having us. This was really
Oh,
fun.
our pleasure.
People
Thank
that
you.
are at a farmer's market or
This is our social interaction for the day.
Hey, you got two friends.
And you have two friends.
That's two. That's not bad.
Anytime you're ready, we're around. So you know.
Love it.
Yeah, or if you just need somebody just to vent on, you can phone us. We're around.
That's very nice. Thank you. Let me take you up on that.
We're here.
Definitely.
Others have, so why not be you too? All good. Happy to help if we can.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, and then we'll talk to you soon.
Go enjoy the rest of the day. We're getting rain tonight and for the next 3 days apparently. So get out there while you can.
Get out, go for a walk or something.
We don't know what Phil's getting in Ontario. Who cares? But
I'm getting sun. I'm getting sun and warmth finally.
Of course you are. Why not?
Oh, yeah, of course it comes out right when
we had 3 days of warm, and we've had our treat for the spring.
All right. Well, you enjoy the day as well.
Thank you, guys. You guys go do your day. Thanks for coming on. Phil, you hang on, but good luck, guys. If you need anything, seriously, just
bye, guys.
Thank you. Us. Okay, talk soon.
Ciao.
Those two
got their shit together.
Those two. Yeah.
Like seriously. Good for them. Like, no, seriously, it's a treat to listen to because
I didn't mean to put you on the spot for the ravioli. But
you know why? Because you know what drives me crazy? Because I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. No. But I wanted that, and I do think it's important, right? Like, because there are a lot of these products out there, and so it's easy for someone to go, "Oh, we got another plant-based thing." But I think when you've got, this is kind of like sometimes I get asked, what do you think, can. Like, when you go to like a veggie restaurant and they throw tofu, like the cruddy tofu that they throw in as a protein replacement.
Right.
So people go, oh, this is delicious tofu. And I can't, I'm just like, that's garbage, right? Yeah. Like it's garbage. There's so many other. So I feel like when you get someone who's Italian, who's Nona used to make this at the kitchen table going, listen, the flavor is bang on, everything's bang on. Like that it's a thing, right?
Good.
Like, so I think it's really important,
To me, again, it's just and they're not chasing someone like me anyway. So, but if you want more of me, it's just the delta. You just got to figure out how to get there. And maybe maybe in traditional grocer, and they're going to learn as they go. The refrigerated and frozen categories are just a bitch to deal in, but you can do well. And with the two of them, I mean, their mind is sound in terms of finances, like they get it, which is a real treat to listen to, by the way, as well.
Oh my gosh, it's such a big deal.
It was refreshing.
It's such a big deal. Yeah.
So I mean, good on them. I mean, I do. I like their product. I haven't tried the cheeses. Did you try them at the show?
I've had them before, believe it or not.
Oh,
I haven't. I didn't have it at the show. I don't think they had. I was really eager to try the ravioli. So I don't think they even had the cheese. They may have, and I didn't notice. But
it was a busy show anyway. But it's good though. I mean, like I said, I think they're going to do. I mean, I think they're actually going to do very well. I think if anybody's going to do it, I think they got a good crack at doing it. For sure.
I think so too.
For sure. So good on them.
Yeah.
Good on them.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening,
everybody. Boy. Thanks for listening, everybody.